started. The Board of Commissioners, as the governing body of Clatsop County, all county service districts for which this body so acts, is now meeting in regular session. Tom, can we have the roll call?
Commissioner Quayla.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson.
I'm here.
Commissioner Toyoka.
Here.
Commissioner Webb.
Here.
And Commissioner Bangs is excused.
Thank you, Tom. We've had an opportunity to review the agenda in our packet. Are there any questions, comments on the agenda, or is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
And moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll start with business from the public. This is an opportunity for anyone to give a 2-minute presentation about any item on the agenda, except for public hearings, and we do have a public hearing this evening, or any topic of county concern that is not on the agenda. Clerk of the board, are there any members of the public registered to speak?
No, there are not.
Okay, thank you, Tom. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Several items on the consent calendar as the board had an opportunity to review. Any comments, questions? If not, we'll need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and second to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll start with our commissioner liaison reports and start with Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This afternoon, I participated in a meeting of the Cascades to Coast Landscape Collaborative. They were talking about larger systems issues, fragmentation versus connectivity as something that we need to think about. They called it the circulatory system of nature for wildlife, agriculture, and forestry. I passed along some information to Commissioner Bangs to allow her to register for another meeting that they're having. What we're looking at is complex, adaptive, interactive systems again. What I like about this is that we are considering wildlife, agriculture, and forestry all together as objects of our consideration. So if anyone else wants the link to register for that next meeting, I'm happy to provide that. The other thing I've been working on is the County Solutions Advisory Committee of the Association of Oregon Counties. You'll remember that I'm the co-chair. Blessed to do that, by the way. We're working on water. House Bill 5006 deals with water systems. Commissioner Magruder is AOC's county representative on that. Again, complex, adaptive, interactive systems. Someone said about water systems on the coast, you might think that they're organized, but no, it's a rat's nest because there are bits of organizations everywhere that aren't in a coherent whole. So that's what we're looking for. The third thing that I'd mention tonight, Clatsop County, colleagues, you'll remember that we all signed a letter that we sent to both to the governor and to Andrea Bell, the new director of Oregon Housing and Community Services. That letter has had a very positive reception going up through AOC, going out to other county commissions. It's useful. We have scheduled with Director Bell an appointment of the AOC county commissioners early in August. So things are moving forward in that direction as well. My congratulations and appreciation to staff and to you, my colleagues, for helping us move forward with that coordinated muscle movement on these complex issues. Thank you, sir. That's my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. I appreciate your hard work on that. Commissioner Webb.
Yes, I have a positive update from NOHA. Our new executive director started this week and is here and is on board. The interim director is going to stick around for the next 2 or 3 months in order to help sort of train her and pass the baton gracefully. A couple of weeks ago, it's been 3 weeks ago now, the elevator went out in Owens Adair. And it's been a real concerted partnership. CCA, as always, stepped up and provided door knocking services to all of the 40 units in the building, offering to take people places and provide food for them, bring in meals. It's been quite wonderful. And we wound up then hiring someone who spends about 4 hours a day there in order to help people up and down the steps and carrying packages for them. And CCA has been great about running errands and often taking people to appointments. It's really been a very nice thing. The other big news from NOHA is that the owner of the Astor building has decided that he no longer wants to basically provide affordable housing under the present voucher system that is in effect. It is not the same voucher system that is in the rest of the county. It's not Section 8. It's something called Mod Rehab, which is a very old and the voucher system that HUD is actually trying very hard to phase out. So don't be too alarmed. The folks who live there, I think there are 40 units there, I have received 1 year's notice that they will lose these vouchers in 1 year. They have choices. They can leave the building, or they can apply for our regular Housing Choice Voucher Section 8 program. And in the course of that year, we're hoping that we would free up enough vouchers for them. So it's not a huge issue. The federal government, HUD, is very passionate about the issue that affordable housing must always stay as affordable housing. And even though vouchers are portable in some events, these old vouchers are not portable, so we would have to transfer them over. It's just a bureaucratic kind of a shuffle. But otherwise, I'm pretty hopeful that I think we're going to be able to take care of all these folks. I think that's all I've got that I haven't covered before. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Webb. Appreciate the update, and thanks for recognizing those that have assisted the residents at Owens Adair. What a huge obstacle to have that elevator out, and thank goodness that we have so many good people in the community and CCA and others that have come to the rescue. So thanks for recognizing that. Commissioner Toyoka.
Good evening, everyone. That's really nice actually to be here. This is my first in-person meeting here at the Boynton Building. I'm the commissioner, so it's a great experience. Hopefully we'll build on this and have more people in the building in further meetings, and as everybody's comfort level expands, more and more people will come to attend the meetings. One thing I really wanted to report on is we have our first regional task force kickoff meeting on the 20th of this month. If you looked at it, there's a great cross-section of individuals are bringing into this. Basically identify the problems of the housing in our area, and then just look at models, tools, and then possible solutions. And a lot of the research being done right now by myself and others is, looking at not only traditional but non-traditional solutions. We think out of the box instead of just, government solutions. What about private enterprise? How do we dovetail and look at every single avenue instead of just pigeonholing us? Let's go to a broad spectrum and let's address this issue. I'm looking forward to that very much. Other than that, we'll hold the rest of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Toyoka. Appreciate your participation on that very important task force. I wish I was there with you in person. I'm following COVID protocols here. I'm glad that we've kept this hybrid option open. As most people are aware, we do have community spread of COVID at this time. So this will, I think, be reality for a while, that some of us may have to join virtually, and I'm glad that we have this option. I do see that there's a household hazardous waste event on July 16th, this Saturday at 9 o'clock. So that's great. Glad that we've continued to host those and hope that people take advantage of it. I don't have anything else. I'll go ahead and turn it over to our county manager.
Thank you, Chair Quayla, members of the board. Before we get too far, I want to just recognize staff for their great work in getting the Boynton ready for this hybrid board meeting. It is nice to be back together again, but like all things, I know mentioning hybrid makes it sound easy, but actually making it happen is a lot harder. And Jim Gardner and his staff, building and grounds, and really many others have had a hand. So I just want to thank staff for all their work. The other is that there is a lot going on within affordable housing right now, housing generally speaking. One of the things staff has been working on and speaking to others about is the project turnkey application process, which is due July 22nd. And so staff is currently working on that, and we will be submitting an application. What happens after that, we will see. We don't have a property identified, but they do allow counties to submit that, or they allow applications when there hasn't been an unidentified property. So, and if we are selected, then they help us identify a property. So we'll see how that works. My last comment is a really positive one. If Jiancheng Huang can come up to the table, I just wanted to introduce the new public health director to the board. Jiancheng joined us Monday, all the way from Oswego, New York. So not a small journey, but a significant one. And we're very fortunate to have Jiancheng here. He's hit the ground running with staff. You know, he has a plan to talk with all of our partners, and obviously we will benefit from his experience during the pandemic, as he's been an active leader in Oswego, New York. And so I just wanted to give Jiancheng just a couple minutes to say a few words, and then if the board wanted to say anything. But most of all, I want to welcome Jiancheng. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come to work with the Clatsop County. And since I came to interview, I learned a lot, very good things. And the past 2 years was difficult, but yes, this community doing very well. And this is my third day here, and I interact with the wonderful public health department team, and I give them a lot of credit, and really a wonderful team. And I look forward to work with you, and I'm available. If you have any question, give me a call, and if you have any concern, comments, let me know. Okay, look forward to work with you, and in the following 3 months, 6 months, I will continue to explore and reach out to community partners. And the public health is a partnership. It's like I always say, like a sports team, and it's not a single one. And we need to play together. So that's all.
Well, thank you, Director Wong. We're so welcome to Clatsop County. We're so fortunate to have you. You have such an impressive resume. And let us know where we can assist in making some of those connections within the community. You're in such a valuable position at Public Health, and you do have a terrific department to work with, but we certainly appreciate you being here and want to help as you get integrated into the rest of the community and make those introductions for you. So thank you for being here. Any other comments, questions from the board?
I'm a little nervous to ask this question, but have you found a place to live?
Before I walking, I said I experienced the housing shortage here. It's very hard to find. Still in an Airbnb now. Thank you.
Okay, well, welcome.
I will say, Commissioner Webb, we are all rallying around his endeavor to find housing.
Good.
So
Good.
we will continue to do that, so.
Good, good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Director Wong. We will go ahead and turn it over to the first item on our agenda, which is a public hearing. Item 8, short-term rental moratorium extension number 3. It's on page 117 of our packet. And our Community Development Director, Gail Henriksen, is there. We'll go ahead and turn it over to Director Henriksen for the staff report.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. On June 22nd, your board approved Ordinance 2205, which added short-term rentals as a Type 1 use to 16 different zoning districts in our unincorporated areas. At that same meeting, you also directed staff to begin work on developing caps for short-term rentals in specific areas of the county. And so we will be presenting that preliminary timeframe and process to you at a work session on August 3rd. But in order to be able to complete that work, we will not be able to do that before this current moratorium ends on August 26th. So your board may wish to consider, as we are moving through this process, a third extension of the moratorium. And if you do approve another 120-day moratorium extension, that would then expire on December 24th. Staff is recommending approval of this third extension, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of our director? Commissioner Webb?
Yes. Gee, I think I missed the little hand up scene on Zoom. That was so much nicer, rather than saying, oh, I've got it. But I'm a little confused about the timing of the moratorium extension. Haven't we been using 6-month increments?
It's 120 days under state statute. And that's the reason for that is because we have lands that are considered urbanizable. And so we are limited to 120 days.
Even in a case of an STR moratorium?
Yes.
I thought that rule just applied to housing or, no, okay. So it's only 120 days.
Right. So the previous 2 extensions, the original and the previous 2 extensions have each been for 120 days.
I'm sorry, I didn't remember.
And this can be shortened, correct? If you staff comes to a different, conclusion, or planning commission, or we come to a consensus of an opinion, it doesn't have to be 120 days.
That's correct.
Okay, any other questions from the commission before we open the public hearing? Okay. We'll go ahead at this time and open the public hearing. Clerk of the board, are there any members of the public who have registered to speak?
There are none.
Okay. So that if there are nobody has joined us virtually that wants to speak on this, or nobody in the room, I will go ahead and close the public meeting at this time. And I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the resolution and order extending the moratorium on the licensing and processing of new short-term rental applications to December 24th, 2022.
I did have a question before motion.
Do we have a second, and then we can ask, we can have additional comment? Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Do we have any further discussion?
Yes, please.
Commissioner Toyoka?
Wanted to question on the impact of, that we put up for election or on the ballot to repeal the ordinance. That affect all of the process? Just trying to understand the process of, we're continuing on our, board has asked the, staff to work on certain items. We're going back to that to hence the extension or the draft of a ballot measure to repeal that ordinance. So how does that all dovetail together on the timeline?
Chair Quayla, members of the board, Commissioner Toyoka, that's a good question. So, staff, per the motion to approve the ordinance and to pursue a discussion about caps, is that is the direction that staff will be working. And, if it turns out that the signatures are gathered and there is a referendum placed on the November ballot, that will not impact the work staff is doing now. It may inform, the public. It may inform, STR holders. It may inform folks in the community just to see where the county is going from a public policy perspective. But we're going to continue to do the work that the board is directing us to during this time period. And then we will see, as we all will, what happens. So.
Thank you, County Manager. Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded to that the Board of Commissioners approve the resolution order extending the moratorium on the licensing and processing of new short-term rental applications to December 24th, 2022. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Director Hendrickson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next item, which is the solid waste recycling administrative rules, page 126. And do we have a staff presentation?
Chair Quayla and members of the board, this is Joanna Lyons-Antley, County Counsel. On February 23rd of this year, your board adopted ordinance number 21-03, adopting the Clatsop County Code Section 7.04 to require solid waste haulers and collectors to obtain a franchise. A franchise ordinance is the vehicle for which the county regulates the solid waste and recycling services available to the unincorporated customers and the rates charged. Clatsop County currently has 2 haulers. One is Recology. They have roughly 4,000 customers in the unincorporated area. And also Waste Management, who serves a little over 200 customers in the Elsie, Jewel, and Fishhawk Lake areas. Code Section 7.04.050 states that the board shall promulgate reasonable rules and regulations relating to those services. Staff has worked with those haulers, and a big thank you goes out to those haulers. They've done a fantastic job working with us and helping us refine the proposed rules and regulations that are in front of you tonight. And so for the vast majority of these rules and regulations, we are all on the same page. There is only one area I'd like to point out to you, which is in the staff report. But again, these are great partners. We've worked really well together. So just a summary of the regulations that are in the proposed rules in front of you. Haulers shall carry insurance limits and name the county as an additional insured. They'll report how much gross receipts, recycling, disposal. That's important as far as our regulations go. They shall advocate for waste recovery. That's the recycling that happens within the county. They shall offer to collect weekly solid waste and regular recycling materials. That frequency will be determined at a future rate setting that will come in front of your board. Provisions for missed collections. There's procedures for establishing new accounts, service levels, termination of service, establishing procedures for billing, refunds, credits, provisions for receptacles, mixed recycling receptacles, and multifamily drop box collection service standards. And just so you know, we're family. We all have to negotiate a little bit. And so we negotiated with the haulers and came to some good provisions on areas such as the recycling containers. We had borrowed some language from the metro area, which didn't seem to apply here. And one of the standards that we tried to follow was we wanted to recognize what the haulers were currently doing and put those into our rules. And so the metro standards didn't fit our Clatsop County areas. We had an adoption for a rate adjustment methodology rather than using this the Consumer Price Index Western. We had a more specific water, sewer, trash collection index not to exceed 4%. We have a profit margin between 8 and 12%, with 10% being the goal. And that haulers will continue their current drop-off locations for yard debris and glass, and that we will work with them to identify additional locations if they're more than 20 miles as customers. So both of our haulers do provide those sites at locations. Like I mentioned at the top, we have that we are going to consider the hauler's request for the allocation method of shared expenses. As you can imagine, the haulers haul not only within the cities in this area, but our unincorporated areas, and allocating those expenses can become part of the discussion. And so we will work with the haulers to determine an appropriate allocation. If your board approves the proposed rules, the next step will be for the haulers to apply to provide those franchises, along with some proposed service rates. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, County Council, for that summary. Any questions of County Council?
Yes. This is Commissioner Webb. I have a question about the shared expenses allocation model. Could you just explain a little bit more about what that means? You know, because I mean, I guess one question I had was, will these haulers be creating separate routes that are entirely within either well, they already have routes inside the city. So will they have a separate route for unincorporated areas? So could you just explain a little bit more about this shared allocation?
Sure. Commissioner Webb, we wanted to recognize currently what the haulers are currently doing. And sometimes there may be instances where they have a single route that just serves unincorporated counties. But I would say more often, there are routes that will pick up within, for example, they'll pick up, in the case of waste management, they may pick up at Fishhawk Lake on the Columbia County side, but they also pick up on the Clatsop County side. So it's just a recognition that just because one truck or one business operation runs in a certain area, it doesn't necessarily mean those expenses can be completely identified as Clatsop County or Columbia County in that case. And so it's a way of sharing those expenses in recognition that the franchise grants those haulers a certain percentage of profit. Like I said, the goal is 10% between 8 and 12.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Chair Quayla, members of the board, if I might, I just want to give an example is that, you know, these haulers may have a truck that is serving a city, and they're also serving the county, and the city and the county, they have different rate structures and they have different rate processes. And so as they identify those costs, they have to figure out what portion of that truck, the depreciation of the truck, the operating cost of the truck is going to be allocated to the city as part of their rate setting process, and how much of that truck operating costs are going to be attributable to the county and their rate setting process. And so that's what the shared costs are, is that we have the same haulers serving multiple municipalities, all of who have franchise agreements with them.
Yeah.
So, and I think that on the route side, they're going to do everything they can to be efficient with the routes. And I think there's going to be some neighborhoods that are contiguous to an urban area that'll probably be served at the same time. And then there's some of the outlying ones that make more sense to pick up uniformly. So they're already doing that now. And I'm sure that they'll continue to find the most economic way, especially right now, because limiting transportation drive time is important. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, County Manager. Any other questions, comments? Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the resolution and order adopting the solid waste and recycling administrative rules.
Moved and seconded to approve the resolution and order adopting the solid waste and recycling administrative rules. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll move on to the next item on the business agenda, which is the cost of living adjustment for unrepresented employees, page 164.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Kelly Stiles, HR Director. Lesson learned, I will log off of my computer when I'm presenting in person, because now I'm looking at myself.
It threw me for a loop.
Slightly unnerving, and I maybe need to set up a better picture. Anyway, nice to see everybody. Today I'm bringing you two items, but the first item is the approval of the cost of living adjustment for unrepresented employees. This is an item I bring to you every year for your consideration, and it's to look at adjusting employees' wages to keep up with the consumer price index and the overall cost of living from a May to May look-back period. So I don't have much more to present than what's on my agenda summary, so if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Have any questions of staff? Okay, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move
Sorry,
the board approve the attached resolution and order implementing a cost of living adjustment of 4.5% for Clatsop County unrepresented, confidential, casual, and contracted employees effective July 1st, 2022.
Commissioner Webb had a comment or question first.
Well,
Can
we're in the
we-
middle of a motion.
Can we have a second and then we can have further discussion?
One second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yes, I have a question about during the, we've been doing collective bargaining arrangements. Did the issue of a COLA come up in any of those negotiations?
We were able to maintain our standard ceiling of floor of 2.5% and ceiling of 4.5% in all of our collective bargaining agreements. So.
And what I would add, Chair Quilla, Commissioner Webb, is that certainly the lack of stability right now with the economy was a discussion point with the unions. And when we get to the next agenda item, you will notice that the length of some of the collective bargaining agreements is shorter than what we would normally see. And part of that is just the uncertainty. Seeing what happens with the economy, what happens with the pandemic. I just think it is more difficult to get those 3+ year agreements that we aspire to. And so it's certainly on everybody's mind.
Right.
So.
Having been through several inflationary spirals in my public service career, I was a little surprised that the 3 years held. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional discussion? It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the attached resolution and order implementing a cost of living adjustment of 4.5% for Clatsop County unrepresented, confidential, casual, and contracted employees effective July 1st, 2022. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll move on to the next item, which is approval of collective bargaining agreements, page 171. I'll turn it back over to our HR Director, Kelly Stiles.
Thank you. So it was a busy spring. We negotiated successfully 3 collective bargaining agreements for the ASME District Deputy District Attorney Group, the Parole and Probation Officers, or known as FAPO, and the Oregon Nurses Association, which is known as ONA. There are some highlights in the agenda summary regarding, as Dawn referenced, conversations with cost of living and whatnot, and also 2 out of the 3 contracts we agreed to a 3-year, and then with FAPO we agreed to a 2-year. Not unexpected. We would have liked longer, but everybody was on the same page, like Dawn said, with the things we're still facing at this time. It's been a very positive experience with all 3 bargaining units. Good. So I'll take any questions you might have.
Any questions from the board? Okay, not hearing any or seeing any, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board approve the 2022 to 2025 collective bargaining agreement between Clatsop County and American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Deputy District Attorney Unit, AFSCME DDA, Local 2746-DA, of the 2022-2024 collective bargaining agreement between Clatsop County and the Federation of Parole and Probation Officers, FAPO, and the collective bargaining agreement between Clatsop County and Oregon Nurses Association, ONA, and authorize the chairperson to sign the agreements.
I hear a second.
Yes, Commissioner Toyoka.
Commissioner Toyoka. Okay, the motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify with an aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go back and fix my picture now. Thank you.
I thought you cloned yourself is all. Thank you, Kelly. Next item is the adjustment of the fiscal year 2022-23 budget and appropriations by authorizing transfer of appropriations between organizational units within a fund and increase the FTE for the DIS position. This is on page 370.
Chair Quayla, members of the board.
Yeah.
If it's okay, I will take this. So I'm going to try to speak of this in as simple a terms as I possibly can, and if I fail, you will let me know. The county received funding for a disease intervention specialist from Oregon Health Authority, and that would allow us to basically hire a 0.60 FTE position. At the same time, though, this position can also do some public education for us. And so we have another funding source within the public health budget that can then make that into a full-time position. So what we're effectively doing is just marrying 2 different funding sources to make a 1.0 FTE that will be working under the clinic manager to assist with investigations of sexually transmitted infections and follow-up contact investigation, but we'll also work on some of the health promotion programs and activities. And so this agenda item just asks to increase the FTE for the position and to transfer appropriations between organizational units within the Public Health Fund. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, County Manager.
I would just like to comment that I thought that Jill Quackenbush's report was very easy to understand and didn't sound all that complicated. So, so good job.
Any other questions, comments? If not, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the FTE increase for the DIS position and transfer of appropriations between organizational units with a fund, and authorize the chair to sign the budget adjustments for $39,480 to remain in compliance with Oregon budget law per ORS 294.338.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Do we have any executive session this evening?
No, Chair Quayla, not today.
Okay. Does anybody have anything for the good of the order? Well, it's great to see everybody in the room again, even I'll be joining you hopefully next time. Thank you. Welcome, Director Wong, for all of you. We're so happy to have you here and anxious to work with you. And other than that, I will go ahead and adjourn our meeting and have a good rest of your Wednesday. Take care.